Welcome back, everyone. So for this video today, I wanted to talk about probably my favorite IP that has come to Universus, period. Now, don't get me wrong. Oh, camera's off. I love anime licenses like Yu Yu Hakusho. I got into the game because of video game licenses like Mega Man and Street Fighter. But there's an IP that, back in the Jasco era, they partnered with, I believe it was Level 99 Games? Uh, but they partnered with several other game companies to kind of do like a cross-promotion thing. For World of Endines, it was, I believe, Level 99 Games, and their World of Endines, I think it was like a board game. And for the Exceed board game, or game, I should say, they had Seventh Cross. Now, Seventh Cross has had several seasons, I believe 6 or 7, with different IPs, but they had this Seventh Cross set, and it was groundbreaking for Universal Fighting System at the time, because it introduced a main mechanic for character stacking. Now, for my fledgling players who don't understand how retro works, if you had multiple characters in your deck, they used to all have a difficulty and a control, you were able to stack them. And if you had different versions of the same character, like for example, there are like 7 different All Might characters, you were able to stack them and your starting character would gain the additional symbols and abilities that it didn't already have from those stacked characters. Well, it was usually really hard to do this because all characters usually had like a 6 difficulty. But 7th Cross introduced Gauge, which was a keyword ability that said, as an enhance, if this attack deals X damage, which is its gauge rating, at least, it would then allow you to search your deck and discard pile for any character that shared a name with your starting character and add it to your stage. So 7th Cross was a perfect way to introduce this because each character had a normal form, or a human form, and a monster form. So, like, let's take Salinka here. This is Salinka. I guess she's an Oni? Not entirely sure the lore there. But then you had, can't see my pointer, but the little crosses next to Salinka's name denote its number. So, usually there's like Salinka 1 and Salinka 2. All Might has like the Roman numerals 1, 2, all the way to 7. Nowadays, our characters have titles like Spike Spiegel, Space Cowboy, Faye Valentine, Queen of Hearts, things like that. So, what I would really love to see, and I don't know if UVS Games is ever going to be able to do this, but if there's a way to do it, I know the people there could figure it out. I'd love to see 7th Cross come back. Except for instead of having these double characters like Salinka 1 and Salinka 2, we would have Salinka, and then a transformed side where you'd have the monstrous form, the Gaki, as Salinka 2. Now that we have the transforming mechanic that we were introduced to in Attack on Titan, we don't have to do character stacking anymore because now we're not allowed to because characters don't have controls and difficulties. But you could absolutely do this. So you had characters like Salinka, who, well, obviously Salinka you wouldn't be able to reprint because Salinka cares about the number of characters in your stage. So obviously for retro, these would have to be reworked. You'd have to have a different variance of Salinka and Salinka the Gaki. And I did hear from one of the Discord people that it'd be hard to do this because Jasco used a lot of the original art for these characters, so if we did another set, we wouldn't be able to use that old art. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know how licensing works to that effect, to where if you could use the same art for multiple pieces. Obviously, we've had some Attack on Titan cards where the art is from the same panel, but maybe just zoomed in a little bit, or zoomed out a little bit. So maybe we could do something with that. But let's just look at the characters for right now. you had Selinka. There were 8 characters, each with their own secondary character. And the way they did it is the secondary characters, you got one of each secondary character as the box topper for the box. And then the first form characters came in the set. So you have Selinka the Gaki. You have Dejanette, who is ridiculous and still played in Retro today. And then Dejanette the Devil's Own. So really, really powerful. And a lot of these characters did depend on having multiple characters. But if you retooled it to be a transforming mechanic, especially if you allowed them to transform back and forth at will, well, at will, you know what I mean. You can transform back into Form 1 if you wanted to. I think we could absolutely make use of some of these characters. My favorite, Eugenia. I love this character with all my heart. This character is actually going to be in a deck profile later this week because she is the Cheshire Cat. She's all about stealing and copying abilities, and it's so, so cool. You have Joffrey, or Jeffrey, I like Joffrey, who has incredible defensive synergies and offensive abilities. And then Joffrey, the Faceless Judge. I mean, just look at that guy. That dude is dope. We have Remulus, and then Remulus, the Yellow Death, who was all about cycling characters in and out of your stage. Taisei, and you're reading that right, that is a 2 health character, but an 8 hand size, whose whole thing was you would start with 1 copy of each Taisei 1 and Taisei 2 in your stage, and when you lose those 2 health on Taisei 1, you removed Taisei 1, and Taisei 2 became your starting character. And then Taisei 2, if you reduce from 8 to 0, was kind of like Ghidorah, but instead of having counters, he removed his character cards from your stage. So as long as you could keep getting your characters in your stage, you kept having extra lives. And later on, they introduced a foundation in Yu Yu Hakusho, which allowed you to get characters back from your removed from game pile. I built a Taisei deck that was virtually unkillable, and this dude is monstrous. So Taisei and Taisei the Doulahan could be something really cool to do. With Tornalus, this dude was ridiculous. And then Tornalus the Bargeist, who I guess is like a hellhound. And then you had Zolt. And then Zolt the Hunter of Men. I guess he was like a serial killer that worked for the church. So these are very cool characters. Obviously, if we wanted to bring these specific 8 back, we'd have to do a complete redesign. And with characters like sets not having all 12 symbols, I could definitely see only picking maybe 2 symbols, or, you know, maybe not do a full 3 symbol character unless we thought we could do a set kind of like Critical Role, because these are just 8 characters. There's at least 8 more that they didn't use. So we've seen Selinka, Dejanette, Joffrey, and Taisei from the Church vs. Empire box. We've seen Zolt and Tornalus from the Hunters and vs. Demons box, but we have not seen Renee and Minato. We have not seen Iquus, Lucia, Seijun, or Cyrus from the Guardians and Myths box. And from Magic and Monsters box, we have seen Eugenia and Remulus, but not Galdrid and Umina. And there are even solo fighters. Obviously, we wouldn't be using Shovel Knight, but Carl, Imogen, Pookie, and Sydney and Serena could also be characters. You could get, just out of the characters we haven't seen yet, you could definitely get a full set. Even if you didn't use any of the characters from this original run, didn't use any of their printed cards, which there were some cards that, because this was back when they did character kits, where each character would have like a 9-card kit. But if you go past all of that, which all of this art is just so cool. Like, we thought the alt arts and the regular arts for Critical Role were awesome. Imagine these in like Critical Role style alternate arts if they could get artists, get permission to do that with maybe the artists the illustrators that did this, like Wicked Alucard, I believe is the name there. Like if they could get the original artists back to do new art for these things. So after Zolt, then we get into what's called Backpage, where you do see some cards like Call of the Dreamland, which is, I believe, a Umina card. Purifying Chime is from Imogen. You do get some of these different cards from these characters, but if you reuse the same art and you didn't have to rework the abilities so much, you could just reprint the card themselves. We've seen retro reprint cards in Yu Yu Hakusho, so this isn't a different thing that has never happened before. And most of these don't have to do with having multiple characters in your stage. A Moment to Rest can obviously do with Gage, we wouldn't be worrying about that. But let's take a look at some of the characters and stuff that we haven't got. And let's just take a look at maybe like Taisei. Let's see if there's any art here that we haven't used. So obviously we have the two characters. We've seen Dust to Dust. Anathema Surge is a different name. Bloodlust, we've seen that. Okay, and then there's these normals, which are just like in the game of Exceed, your deck will always have these normal cards. But these are all, so they did use all of the art for every character that they made. They did use all of the art for them. So again, maybe we could have like a retro style, and maybe we can have, I want to check something real quick while I'm on this. Sorry for the tangent, folks, but I had an idea. Evil, was it good? Was it Morgan? Okay, so it was that Morgan, but it was good. Evil Death? Okay, so is this Morgan? Good Evil Death. Attack. Because there is an attack in this Morgan deck. So I thought there was an attack in that Morgan deck. Oh, right here, Shadow Blade, I think it was. Yeah, Shadow Blade has 2 dots here. I think that means Venom Drain 2 dots? I think it means that it was like a reprint of another card. So let's go to Shadow Blade. So yeah, so this is a Shadow Blade. Shadow Blade with a different name. Okay, so it's a different ability, it just has a different name and different stats. Okay. So I don't know why this had the 2 dot unless it was... Usually they did that for, like I said, if they have a different character with the same name and a different ability. So I don't know if you could do that to have like a retro, like a reprint of the retro card with the same art, maybe the same name, but a different ability for like a standard version. I don't know if we could do that. Like I said, with licensing, I'm not an expert on this, and I don't know how they would be able to do that with like the rules. Let's be honest, a lot of people don't care about retro that much, so maybe it would be splitting hairs at that point. I do care about retro, but I'm also care about not letting something this cool go to waste if they can get their hands on it. So let's check out Renee. I wanted this character to be something so cool. So Renee is a spy, and she is looking for conspiracies. And her monster form is the Spook. She's an alien. You can see her peeling off her face right there. She's an alien in disguise as a secret agent or a detective. That is so neat. What could you do with this? You could, let's go back to 7th Cross here for a second. 7th Cross. She had a foundation in this set that had to do with looking at your rival's hand, I believe. Paranormal Investigation. So remove after, as a response, remove after your opponent plays an attack with at least 3 keywords, seal it. you're not allowed to play enhanced abilities during the enhanced step. So I can seal, I can completely turn off your attack, but I don't get to play enhanced abilities. That's pretty strong. Imagine sealing any attack that Nick Reagan plays, and sure, I don't get to play enhances, but you don't get to give it abilities with your character. Or during my opponent's attack, I get to remove this as an enhance. I get to look at my opponent's hand, only playable if they have at least 2 momentum. So this character could be all about scouting information. The top card of your rival's deck, looking at their hand, maybe looking at, well, we can see, we can ask them what their face downs are anyway, but sealing cards, we can totally use stuff like that. I don't know if looking at her ultras and supers, she gets an additional card, a briefcase. What does this do? You may boost with a card in this area once per turn. If that boost did not cause a strike, take another action. Alright, so cards on the table. I only played Exceed 2 or 3 times with a friend of mine because we were introduced to Exceed through 7th Cross. And it was really, really cool. I loved that. I think I played Pookie, and I just destroyed my friend. That bunny was hateful. But maybe that could be like an asset for her, the briefcase. We have Paranormal Investigation, we have Strafe Fire, we have Flare, so we're looking at maybe some ranged weapon attacks. Called Shot, Neutralizer, Anticipation, so maybe ways that we can... okay, the opponent reveals their hand, then adds a card of your hand from their choice to their gauge. So maybe you could reveal your rival's hand, and then you select one card from their hand to put into their momentum. So it could all be about name a card, your opponent must discard a copy of that card, or reveal their hand if they don't have any, and if they discarded a copy, +6 power. So maybe it's like, I'm looking at your hand, I'm going to say, hey, discard this card. If you do, I get +6 damage. If you don't, you reveal your hand. Push 2 if you have a continuous ability in play, retreat 1. So Exceed is played on like a grid where you move back and forth in and out of your rival's range. For the rest of the strike, attacks at range 1 do not hit you. So maybe you could use this as like, if you block with it, your rival's attacks get -1/2 speed or something like that. So yeah, it could be really cool, a really cool way to play this spy character who's constantly gathering information and then making use of that information. Next we have Minato. We have Minato looking kind of like Kibutsuji from Demon Slayer. Mr. Annie, are you okay? And then we have Minato. Oh, the Oboroguruma. And he's got basically evil Knight Rider kit from Knight Rider for all my people as my age and older up there. So evil car man. So what does Oboroguma do? At the start of each of your turns, seal all cards in your discard pile. For each card sealed this way, your next attack is +1 power. So he could be all about sealing your own cards, maybe your own foundations, or sealing your own attacks to give damage and speed. We have Jump the Shark. That's a boat. So maybe his car can become other things? Maybe his car can become a boat? Barnstorming? That's an old biplane. So maybe, yeah, maybe his car, his monstrous form can have these different weapon type attacks, or tech attacks, that shuffle your discard pile into your deck, gain advantage, so you take the next turn regardless of who initiated the strike. So that's kind of neat. Cab stand, so it's fighting with a taxi. Spend up to 3 force. Okay, we're not going to read a lot of these because obviously it's going to be really hard to figure out what it would translate to kind of on the fly. But he could definitely be like a tech attack player. Hellward Bound is a card that we did. If you're no cards in your discard pile, and I think at least 10 in your remove from game. Here we go. As a form, you flip it to discard one card from your card pool, or one attack from your card pool, so that's cool. We get to clear a card. Remove, this attack is +3 speed and +6 damage, only playable if you have at least 10 remove from play cards and no cards in your discard pile. So, if we take that into account, not only could he deal with sealing your own cards, but he could also be good at removing cards from your discard pile to pay costs, or shuffling cards from your discard pile back into your deck. Maybe his Ultra allows you to shuffle your discard pile back into your deck. Something absolutely insane like that. Maybe like as an enhance on your, or a blitz on your ultra rare attack, shuffle your discard pile into your deck, remove the top 5 cards from your deck. So maybe he deals with that kind of gameplay, kind of like a turbo, well, I wouldn't say a turbo Nick Reagan, but dealing with removing cards from his deck and discard pile so you could try to boost your stats and maybe have something to do with sealing your foundations as well. Maybe sealing your foundations for stats on your front side and on your monster side, removing cards for stats. That could be something really cool and a way to play this Michael Jackson looking monster dude. We've seen these 4, we've seen those 2, so let's take a look at Iacquis. Iacquis, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So we have Iacquis. When you initiate a strike, you may set your attack face up if you do +2 power, we don't care about that. And then Iacquis the Dragon Slayer. Look at this beast. This is so cool. When you set your attack, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, add any before, hit, and after effects printed on that card to your attack. So on his monster side, after you play an attack, maybe you can response discard 1 attack. The attack you played gains 1 or more abilities from the attack you discarded. That could be something really cool to initiate. And he did have some attacks here. He had, or some cards here. He had Dragon's Tongue, which was basically a first enhanced Godzilla. First enhanced, if this attack is the first card that you've played this turn, destroy all assets and foundations. No more enhances can be played during this enhanced step. After this attack resolves, your turn ends, and this ability cannot be cancelled. Its speed cannot be modified, it's a 5 mid 7, but it's also a breaker 2 and a powerful 5. So imagine this gets reprinted as is, and you could put this first E on another attack, maybe with a faster speed, using Minato's Dragon Slayer form, to just discard an attack after you play an attack, and the attack you played gains an enhance or an ability printed on the attack you discarded. That is just so cool. And then he also has a foundation in Dragon's Tail. Response commit, after your attack is partially blocked, it gets +3 damage and you gain a health, which is not bad. On a partial block, we do half rounded up, so this is maybe an additional +2 damage that your rival's taking, and you gain a health on a 1 diff? Yes, please. Granted, these 3 symbols, I think only one of them matches Dragon Tongue. Yeah, the life symbol. But we're not really talking symbol identities right yet. I would not know where to begin. I do like Clockwork Castle, though. This is such a cool card. So now, let's see some of the cool art he's got. He's got the Dragon Tongue, of course. We've got Dragon's Fire, so this could be some sort of ranged fury attack. On hit, you add a random card from your hand to your gauge. If you do, return this card to your hand. So maybe this is like a 3 mid 4, and response after if it deals damage, add a card from your hand to your momentum to pick this card up and play it again. I mean, obviously you're losing a card, but you're gaining a momentum, so that could be something cool. Maybe you play this and then nuke everything by discarding Dragon's Tongue, and then if this deals damage, you can add a card to your momentum to pick this up again, so that could be something cool. Dragon's Flight, that's neat. Dragon's Tail, we've seen that. Dragon's Spine, that hurts, I'm assuming. Dragon's Heart, that's just a cool punch. Dragon's Descent, if a copy of your attack is in your gauge, boost, or transform area +4 power. So maybe if there's a copy of this card in your, like, face up in your momentum. Maybe he deals with face up momentum. So maybe if there's a copy of this card in your momentum, or maybe if they can go face down and he just reveals your momentum to say, if for each copy of this card in your momentum, get plus whatever damage, or maybe if there is just a copy, plus 4 damage. Something like that could be pretty neat. Definitely liking Iquis. Next we have Lucia. What do you do? When you move past the opponent, do 1 non-lethal damage. You may add the top card you did. Okay, we're not dealing with that. Then we have the Thunderbird. Look at this monstrosity. So this is cool. Maybe she could be a 5-hand character, and when you transform her, add your hand to your momentum and draw 5 cards. So if you transform mid-turn for some reason, maybe you have to spend like 4 momentum or something to transform, and then you add your hand to your momentum, draw 5 extra cards. That could be something cool. Gauge was kind of like the momentum of Exceed. If I'm remembering correctly, you expended your gauge in order to play abilities. And then Lucia had Firefly Gunner. After you fail a check this enhanced step, this attack gets 2 damage. So that's kind of cool. Maybe she could have a check-making ability, kind of like Joker. And then enhance check of 7. If you pass that check, add 1 other card from your card pool to your momentum. Your rival loses 1 health for each of your momentum. So she could be a check-making, maybe a check-failing character, a character who wants to fail checks like the Joker does, and then have this momentum generation ability as well. Maybe if you only did like a 2-symbol character, kind of like Attack on Titan, maybe she's like Chaos Fire. That could be something cool. She also had a foundation, Bug Zapper. Response commit after you make a check, it gets +1 for each card in your momentum, which is huge. And then response after you check an attack, add this card to your momentum. So maybe her transforming ability could be after you check an attack card, spend like 3 momentum to transform your character from Lucia into the Thunderbird. That could be something kind of cool. A way to spend the momentum you're generating. So we have Downburst, Talon Sweep, which is a cool kick. Mantis Strike. Weird that a Thunderbird has a Mantis attack. The Bug Zapper, which we've seen. Firefly Gunner, which we've seen. Ride the Lightning. In a flash, I appear to defend the innocent. So this is pretty cool. It looks like, so she closes and advances, and she just like moves around the board a lot. So that's pretty cool. Skies of Flame. Holy crap. That is cool. She's got her comma there and her chains. That is neat. So that could be a type of character where you're just wanting to make checks, but you're also kind of wanting to fail checks. So that could be pretty cool. So after Lucia, let's see Sejun. We have Sejun. Your maximum hand size is 9. Draw 2 additional cards in your starting hand. Attacks have +1 to their shield for each card in your hand, so you could block. So maybe she's a block modifier type character. And then her monster form is Kyubi no Kitsune, so a 9-tailed fox. When you transform, draw 3 cards. Your maximum hand size is unlimited. At the start of each of your turns, draw a card. So maybe this could be a character who starts as maybe a 6-hander, let's say, or a 7-hander. And then when she transforms, she becomes maybe like a 4 or a 5-hander. But every turn, you increase her maximum hand size by 1. How cool would that be? Kind of like a Cementos to gain, instead of +1 for each of your 3 face downs, just at the start of each of your turns, you're going from a 4-hander to a 5-hander, then to a 6-hander, then to a 7-hander. And eventually you just, if you can outlast your rival at, say, maybe like a 7-hander starting health, you might be able to just absolutely become a monster. I believe we had Sejun cards. We had Purifying Chime. Your opponent discards characters from their stage until they have 2. we obviously wouldn't deal with that. It's got Breaker 2, and then Response Card Pool. After you block with this card, discard it, clear it. So you can have a Breaker 2 +1 mid-block that clears itself. And we also had a Foundation, if I remember correctly, Tale of 9 Sorrows. It's an ally card. It flips if there are 9 or fewer cards left in your deck. Your next check to play card gets +9. So imagine you have this card counting because you're constantly gaining a bigger hand, so you're drawing more cards. And then Enhanced Flip, if there are more cards in your card pool than your opponent's, they add the top card of their deck to their card pool face down. So she could definitely play with, like, if you have more cards in your hand than your rival, or if you have more cards in your stage than your rival. Card abilities like that. I think that was all she had. So we also had cards like Ink Splash, which is neat. X for the speed, X is the number of cards in your hand, max 7. That's pretty neat, especially in a 7 hand size character. So you play it as your first attack, it's a 6 mid for 4. That's not bad. Yokai Banishing, draw a card, repeat, or push 1, repeat this effect 2 more times. So maybe it's like a 6 mid 1 that allows you to draw a card as a blitz, and you make, say, commit a Foundation to repeat this, or commit 2 Foundations to repeat this, so you just draw extra cards. Inari Guidance. You may advance as far as possible. I think that just means move your character forward. Ink Spike. X power. X equals the number of cards in your hand, so kind of an inverse version of that first attack. Is pretty neat. Foxfire. We've already seen Tale of 9 Sorrows. Ancient Ambition. Draw up to 5 cards. That's wild on like a 4 mid 9. Tale of 7 Trials. X power. X equals number of cards in your hand to a max of 15. So that's huge. That is incredible. Imagine if you could do that, where X is the number of cards in your hand up to a max of 15 on a 2 mid, maybe like a 2 high 15. That could be something incredible. So she could definitely be like a character that wants to draw a billion cards, especially after you've transformed. Like, say, maybe at the end of your turn, if you have more than 7 cards in your hand, transform into QB or something like that, and keep her at like a maybe make her a 6 hand size character, and then if you end your turn with 8 or more cards in your hand, you transform. And then when you obviously transform, maybe make her like a 3-hander or a 4-hander. So then obviously you have some cards in your hand already, so you might not have to draw for your first turn, so that lets you build your hand back up. So that could be kind of a neat way to play her. So we've seen Seijun. Who is Cyrus? Let's see. Cyrus is a bard. Neat. And his monstrous form is Lord of the Deep. He's a merman. So that's cool. Not dealing with any of that. So what does Cyrus do? Cyrus had Symphony of the Deep. It's a unique form removed, discard X cards, draw X cards, so you could discard and draw as many cards as you wanted. And then your attack, commit, seal 1 card in your opponent's card pool, and then add 1 Foundation from your opponent to your opponent's... Oh no. Seal a card in your rival's card pool and 1 Foundation in your rival's stage. So if your rival has a continuous ability in their card pool, like Unyielding Heat, you can seal that card and seal any Foundation in their stage. So maybe he has a sealing mechanic, and obviously he likes to draw a bunch of stuff. He did not have an attack, though, with Mr. Lord of the Deep. So Tidal Whirl, push or pull, so that's kind of cool. Aria of the Winds, you may return a card from your discard pile to your hand, so that'd be kind of neat. Maybe he has some sort of recursion ability, maybe like a printed 3 difficulty attack or something like that. Siren Call. If the opponent is stunned, pull until they're at range 2, so that's drawing your opponent closer to you, so moving them in range, so maybe it's got stun, and if it deals damage, maybe commit another card. Treasure Hunter, neat. Push 3 and your rival discards a card from their gauge. Add the top card of your discard pile to your gauge. So maybe some momentum control here of force your rival to spend 1 momentum and you gain a momentum. Albatross Talon, ignore guard. So maybe if you swap this to be a 5 mid for 3, ignore guard. Maybe you could make this like an unblockable flash attack. That could be something neat. So, you also have retreat 2 and draw cards, so maybe it's, maybe you could do reduce this attack's, I don't know. I like ignore guard being like, you can make it unblockable somehow. I think that'd be kind of cool. We've seen Symphony of the Deep. Return cards at random from your discard pile to your hand until you have 7 cards, and then shuffle your discard pile. That's kind of funny. Dredge Fury. Spend up to 3 gauge for each gauge, plus 2 power, so maybe powerful 3. And instead of discarding a card spent this way, add it to your hand. That's wicked. And then for the 0, whatever this is, both players draw up to 3 cards, take another action. So maybe after you play this card, both players maybe draw some number of cards. But a 4-speed 2 that can get powerful 3, and then you may add 1 card you spent from your momentum this way on this powerful to your hand. That could be an incredibly powerful attack. And then we've seen the normal stuff. So he could be pretty interesting. So we've seen Eugenia, we've seen Remulus. Let's look at Galdred. Galdred, instead of drawing at the end of your turn, if you did not strike, draw or discard cards until you have 3 in hand. So maybe he has a way to draw cards at the end of his turn, if we wanted to put him in Universus, instead of... Oh, you know what would be hilarious? Oh, I don't know how you would work it, though. Is if instead of drawing... I don't know. To draw at the end of your turn instead of beginning? I don't know, that's weird. What's his monster side? His monster side is the Beast Within. So this man's a Jekyll and Hyde. Okay. On hit, add the bottom card of your discard pile to your gauge. So kind of like Toga 3. She can, on hit once per turn, add a card from your discard pile to your momentum. So maybe he deals with face-up momentum. Blood Frenzy, you may transform from a card in your hand. Neat. If you have 1 or fewer cards in hand, gain advantage and ignore armor. Explosive Cocktail. Your opponent must discard a card at random. That's pretty cool. Withering Toxin. We've seen this. Ignore armor, ignore guard. So he is this. This attack is plus 2 speed for each card that has left your rival's card pool this turn. This is also a reversal, so you could play it on your rival's turn. And then enhance, remove X cards from your opponent's card pool, draw X cards, and flip one of your opponent's foundations. So what if this man has a way to draw during your rival's turn? And instead of drawing at his draw step, he draws at the end of his turn. So you're getting ready for your rival's turn, and then during your rival's turn, you have ways to draw a whole bunch of cards, so that you can go into your turn, play a bunch of cards, draw up to your printed hand size at the end of your turn instead of the beginning. That'd be kind of neat. And we have seen with the Street Fighter 6 that there's this drive mechanic that allows you to play an attack. At least on the one attack we've seen, you may play the attack after an attack has been completely blocked. So maybe he could be like one of these characters that can do cards like that. I don't know if drive is the ability that does it, but playing an attack on your rival's turn to then make it something like a Withering Toxin, to then draw a bunch of cards on your rival's turn, could absolutely be an amazing way to play this character. Oh, we did see Eviscerate too. because Eviscerate is his foundation. Response card pool: after you play this card, build it. Only playable if your rival has more face-down foundations than you. Okay. And then response flip: after you are dealt damage, your rival flips a foundation. So he could be all about flipping your rival's foundations face down and drawing cards on your rival's turn, and then drawing cards at the end of his turn instead of like drawing up to his printed hand size at the end of his turn instead of the beginning. Which could just be this wacky way to play him. I think that'd be really, really funny. And then Hydra Helix. That's horrifying. I'll tear you apart with my bare hands. Both players discard their hand. Oh, there you go. If this attack deals damage, both players discard their hands. So you could play this on your turn, discard your hand, end your turn, draw up to your hand size. That could be pretty freaking gnarly. As a 6 speed 2 damage move. Holy crap. Metamorphosis, stun immunity. That's pretty cool. I don't know what Metamorphosis would do, but it's good art. So yeah, imagine a character that doesn't draw at the beginning of his turn, but instead draws at the end, and plays cards or abilities to draw cards on his rival's turn, so that way he has things to play during his turn, and has this like insane card that allows you to discard both players' hands. Holy crap, would that be such a ridiculous character to play. Let's take a look at Umina. Umina is looking like a 1920s gangster's mall almost. As an action card, you may put a card from your hand into your Dreamlands. I don't know what that means. And then we have the Dreamer Awakened, this Lovecraftian nightmare, which is just spooky. At the start of each of your turns, look at the top card of your deck. Either put it in your Dreamlands or discard it. So maybe she has a self-removal ability. She wants to remove cards from the game, kind of like Endeavor. And she'll be one of those that wants to cycle, but maybe she has a little bit more recursion or other ways that she can manipulate her remove from play cards. Because she does have an action, Call of the Dreamlands. Response remove: after your rival makes a check, it gets -X. X equals the number of characters in your stage. If they fail that check, they draw one card. So obviously we wouldn't be able to deal with that because we're not dealing with multiple characters. But form: your next 4 non-attack cards ignore progressive difficulty. That's a ridiculous ability. You just play this, and then you can play out a whole bunch of foundations or assets, and they all ignore progressive difficulty. I don't think she had any other cards. No. So we have the Dreamlands. Discard any cards here before a new one is placed. You may strike with this card. When you strike with this card or a copy of this card, you have stun immunity. Okay, we're not worried about that. It's another Dreamlands. Okay. Oh, this is the back. So this is a transformed Dreamlands. So maybe Dreamlands is an asset that also can transform. Add any cards here to their owner's hand before a new one is placed, so you can cycle cards. So what if she starts with this asset Dreamlands in play on its normal side, and maybe after you review a card or do the look at the top card of your deck, you may add it to the Dreamlands. You can basically store cards under the Dreamlands. Doesn't Godzilla do something similar? Godzilla is Chaos, Earth, Water, Match All, Asset. Gathering Energy. After you take damage, remove the top card of your deck face down. Form remove, look at the face down cards removed by this effect and choose 2 of them. Add the 2 chosen to your hand, return the rest face up. So maybe it could be a sort of Gathering Energy where you are making like a Dreamlands pile, but maybe putting the cards under the Dreamlands, and then you can only store one unless it transforms. And like it would be if you add one card to your Dreamlands, you have to discard the other one, but if it's transformed, instead of discarding the card, you add it to your hand. So you can cycle, be like, okay, I'll look at the top card of my deck, I want this card, I'll add it to my hand, I'll put this into my Dreamlands. So that could be something pretty cool, having a transforming asset that basically adds as a stockpile for other cards. Terror Whispers is... that is nightmare fuel. Put a card from your discard pile into your Dreamlands. So again, storing these cards in this asset if you want to. That is really powerful and horrifying. Out of Mind. Add a card from your Dreamlands to your Momentum, to your Gauge, so you can add one card from your Dreamland to your Momentum. If you did, gain power equal to that card's power, so maybe to a maximum of 5, so maybe gain damage equal to its control or its block modifier. Otherwise, add all cards in your hand to your Gauge and then draw 3 cards. We're not worrying about that part. Hollow Space. That's just spooky. Like I said, she is a Lovecraftian nightmare. Dark Thoughts. Opponent discards a card at random. If a card was discarded, you may put it into your Dreamlands. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to take our rival's cards into our side of the stage, but just making our rival discard a card at random and then maybe we draw a card, that could be something. Shadow Chorus. When you reveal this attack, it becomes a copy of a card in your Dreamlands, so maybe this can gain enhance and blitz abilities printed on an attack in your Dreamlands. And this card cannot be placed into your Dreamlands, so that could be pretty cool. Or maybe instead of Dreamlands, she deals with face-up momentum. If we didn't want to add this whole new mechanic of the Dreamland asset, maybe she deals with face-up momentum. I don't know if we're still doing terrains, but Dreamlands could definitely be like a terrain that gives you different effects that could allow you to flip and unflip your momentum at will, possibly. Unknown Kadath. No known range, no known powers, 6 speed. Place the opponent's attack into your Dreamlands and then add this card to your Gauge and the strike. So maybe instead of an attack, this could be... ooh, you know what? There's a card called... I'm going to keep this open. Dimension Door Ambush. And this is actually a card for a character from World of Endines called Kadath. It says, response, hand, add this card to your card pool, discard 1 attack. After your opponent plays an attack with 2 or more keywords, add it to their hand and play this attack. So what if Unknown Kadath is a response, hand, add this card to your card pool, after your rival plays an attack, add it to their hand, this attack's speed and damage become the printed speed and damage of that attack, and maybe it gains or like this card becomes a copy of that attack, basically. Gains the speed and damage, gains the abilities. That could be an incredible ultra rare. Maybe that would, if it gained all the abilities, let's just say it gains the speed and damage of that attack, because otherwise we would have Sweeping Daggers on steroids here. Granted, it would add the card back to your rival's hand, so they could still play it. You're not just removing it. But that would be incredible. And then we've seen the Call of the Dreamlands. This is on the action card. So yeah, she could definitely be a wicked Lovecraftian nightmare of a character that I would absolutely love to see. Like, maybe the Dreamlands can gain, like, dream counters, and each time a card is added to your momentum, add a dream counter on it, and if you have X number of... remove X number of dream counters to transform Umina, and then if Dreamlands has X number of dream counters, you could transform it into this nightmare version, and maybe gain different abilities. That could be something cool. We've never seen transforming foundations or assets before. I mean, we obviously have attacks that can shift into backups and foundations, so maybe Dreamlands is something completely different like that. Next up, we have the solo people. So, oh crap. So I said that Seijun had the, that action, that she had this, purifying chime. That's not Seijun, that's Imogen. I made a mistake. So let's check out the solo fighters. This is Carl. So he's kind of neat. Your attacks have, if the opponent's attack is a special attack, +1 armor. I don't know what that means. And then Evil Carl. So maybe, like, if your attacks have a certain number of keywords. I love this art style, this art deco style. This is so cool. So maybe he deals with if your attacks have a certain number of keywords and your rival's attacks have a certain number of keywords. Maybe we could have stuff like that. Disarming strike. Neat. Swangy elbow. Cool. Cease and desist. Power short. So maybe he could have some sort of like tech abilities. God, 6 speed, 10 damage. Holy crap. Autonomic response is looking at someone else and just sucker punching someone in the gut. So that would be pretty cool. I don't know if Carl is special to anything else, but he could definitely be like maybe a keyword based. Like if your opponent's attack special attack +1 armor, so maybe you take 1 less damage from attacks with 3 or more keywords, and your attacks with maybe like 1 or fewer keywords just get +2 damage as like a static. So that could be pretty cool. Again, since I know they have like Shovel Knight here, I don't know if these are all from different things. Like I don't know what Pookie's from. Obviously the art style is completely different. But we have Imogen. And then Imogen, the Hecaton Share, which is a monster lion that lets you look at the top card of your deck. So that's pretty cool. When your turn begins, you may spend 1 life. If you do, put the top card of your deck on the bottom of your deck. So that could be kind of neat. Like at the start of your turn, first form, lose 1 health. You may look at the top card of your deck to put it on the bottom of your deck if you want. Imogen, set your wild swings face up. Before setting a wild swing, look at the top card of your deck. You may spend a life added to your gauge. So maybe she can manipulate, basically move the top and bottom cards of your deck. That'd be kind of neat. Purifying Chime, your opponent discards a card at random from their hand. So that could be kind of cool, turning that action into an attack, since obviously we can't deal with multiple characters. Maybe it clears when you block with it, and if it hits your rival, they have to discard a random card. Holy Warding, if you have less life than your rival, +2 power, that could be cool. After it resolves, draw a card. And again, constantly looking at the top card of your deck if you're transformed. Guilty Paean, you may spend 3 life. If you do not, this attack does not hit your rival. So basically having to lose health in order to deal damage. I don't know about that. Maybe lose up to 3 health for up to 3 speed to make it a 7 mid-6. Blood for blood. For each point of damage you have taken this turn, this attack during this strike, +1 power. So maybe +1 damage for each, gain X damage. X equals the amount of health you've lost. Kind of like the, whoops. Darkness Dragon Prowess. This attack gains stun X equals the amount of health lost during this enhanced step. So maybe gain X damage, X equals the amount of health you've lost during this enhanced step. That could be pretty cool. Martyr's Lash. If you were hit during a strike, you may transform a card from your hand or close two. Hand of Judgment. If this card was a wild swing, you may spend 3 life instead of paying its gauge cost. Okay. Again, I don't know what wild swing means in terms of Exceed, because I haven't played in whenever 7th Cross came out in UVS, so it's been a long time. But really cool. This could be a really cool character, Touch of Divinity. This attack is invalid. If this attack is invalid, your attack has +3 power this strike. Power 10, holy crap. So maybe like look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. That could be pretty cool. We've seen that. So maybe she could manipulate the top card of your deck a lot, or maybe she could manipulate the bottom card of your deck and we can have a character that deals more with the bottom card of your deck. Maybe making checks from the bottom of your deck, stuff like that. And then losing health, obviously, to pay for more power or pay for more abilities. And we can have that kind of a pseudo-desperation character again. Kind of like Hiei. Pookie is just insane. Your special and ultra attacks have, if you have continuous boost, play +1 speed, yada yada. Whenever you're stunned, draw a card, so just evil Pookie. And Pookie deals with gambling. When you reveal this attack, place this card into your boost area as a continuous boost. Replace it with a wild swing. Your character's ability bonus also apply to normal attacks after this strike. Yeah, so he's all about gambling. He doesn't have any power here. Snack attack. Pookie cheats. So I don't know what Pookie would do, honestly. He's all about continuous boosting. Drawing cards. I forgot about that. Drunken Rampage. So maybe he's all about if your attacks have gained a certain number of bonuses, you can do extra things. Or maybe we just don't include Pookie. I don't know. I don't think we need a drunk gambling Easter Bunny in Universes. But hey, maybe it could be funny as like a promo character. And then we've had Sydney and Serena. So Sydney and Serena is pretty cool. Place Serena in the center of your board while you share her space. Exceeding costs 3 less. We're not dealing with that. And Serena, and that's Sydney. So when you exceed, if you have 10 or less health, gain 5 health. Move Serena to your space. Remove this card from the board and flip Serena to her exceed side. Serena is now your character. We have Serena. So basically you have 2 characters. You have Sydney and Serena. And when you exceed, you become Serena. And it looks like she just ate Sydney. So Audrey 2 ate Seymour. So what's really cool is they had 2 attacks here. They had Pea Shooter, which has EX2 and Powerful 2. As an enhanced, they gain +1 to each of their keyword ratings for each charge attack in your card pool. And as an enhance, you may spend clear ally attacks from your card pool in addition to spending momentum to pay for the EX and powerful abilities of this card. So maybe a charge ally type of package, or maybe half charge and half ally, depending on if they're Sydney attacks or Serena attacks. Maybe Serena's attacks could be charges and Sydney's could be allies. So that way you can basically make this big EX2 Powerful 2 dunk that gains keyword bonuses based on the number of charge attacks in your card pool, and you can spend clear ally attacks to absolutely annihilate people. So Pea Shooter, really cool. Blossom Haze, so maybe this is like one of your ally charges or something like that. Venom Lash. Okay, looks like all of the attacks are Serena. Spore Burst. Maybe cool. Choking Thorns. Alron's Kiss. Mwah. That's cute. Oh god. If this, like, say that on the hit, if this attack deals damage, your rival discards a momentum, and then you get to add the top 2 cards of your discard pile to your momentum. Just charge up that pea shooter. Verdant Slaughter, which was actually a foundation. Verdant Slaughter says, enhance, commit, and flip. This attack cannot leave the card pool during the combat phase and does not clear during this end phase. So this was actually used to create an infinite loop with an attack called Shield Big Bang, and eventually got that card banned because it could play itself from your card pool, kind of like Levi's Rampage, where you could just play it over and over and over, and it just fed itself with its own abilities. But then as this Deadlock Enhance, make a check of 4, your EX or powerful attack gets +2 speed and +2 damage for each card in your opponent's card pool. So maybe Sydney and Serena focuses on this ally charge attack package, and their support wants to clog your rival's card pool and gain boosts off of that. That could be something really wicked. But unfortunately, that is all we have for the 7th Cross characters. As far as I know, this was the only set in Exceed that was 7th Cross. I want to say it was specific to this Exceed, like this was a property specifically for the Exceed fighting system. Yeah, because they have 7 different things, seasons, including Guilty Gear Strive, Blaze Blue, Street Fighter, and Red Horizon, which they got Red Horizon from Jasco Games. Yeah, so this would be really cool to see come back. I want 7th Cross to come back so much. And yeah, it doesn't say anything about like what 7th Cross is, but I think it's specifically made for Exceed. Yeah, and it was from Level 99 Games. Yeah, I really adore this this IP. I would love to see it come back using the transformation mechanic as opposed to like a character stacking mechanic. And who knows, maybe we could just retool some of the old cards and reprint new versions. Again, I'm aware that it's difficult. It would absolutely be difficult to make it to where like Dust to Dust does something completely different in Standard, but has a retro version as well. Maybe you just do a hand wave rule? I know a lot of people hate hand wave rules, but I don't know, maybe you could add like the little star or the cross to differentiate them in some way. I don't know. I just know there's so many cool characters that we never got to see in like a 7th Cross Part 2 set that I think would really make a great addition to this game. And I'd love to get maybe 2 full sets of 7th Cross with, you know, the old characters returning and then a new 8 with like, what would that be? That'd be Renee, Minato, Galdred, Umina, Lucia, Cyrus, Seijun, Iaquis, Sydney, and Serena, so that'd be 9. And then Eugenia would be 10. Ugh. Okay, so maybe you would have to break it into like 3 sets. 10, 18. Yeah, because 8 and 10, 18, that gives you 3 sets of 9 characters. If you wanted to do smaller sets, which would be cool. So 3 sets of 9 characters. Maybe like a half-size set would be kind of neat. I don't know, guys. I've ranted on for an hour now about how amazing this set style is and how much I love this. So I'm just going to end it here. And UVS Games, if you guys are listening, maybe go talk to Level 99 Games and see if they're willing to work something out. I would love to see these characters make a return, both the old ones from Retro being remade as transforming monster characters, and the new ones that we never got to see the light of day, making it to Universus. I think this would absolutely be a banger of a set IP, and I've gushed enough. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like the 7th Cross IP? Do you like the idea of making them transforming characters instead of character stackers? Do you think this is all just a wild pipe dream and maybe I should just put my efforts into something else? Up to you guys, but let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.